the celebration has kind of continued, but now we're starting to talk again about the rematch. Where is your mind at right now? We keep hearing different things. I mean, obviously, I know your manager said, you'd like to fight sooner. I know when I talked to you, you said you'd like to fight sooner.
Yes.
But Ronda now says she wants UFC 200. Where's your mind at?
I do like to fight sooner than later, but I'm not one to say this is when I want it and who I want. I usually just take the opportunity that they give to me, and so whatever happens, we'll see how the cards unfold. I'm sitting here today because I just took whatever opportunity was in front of me. They said Ronda was next. I said, all right. A lot of people thought it was too soon, so I think that it's been best for me just to keep going with how I normally do it. Just let it flow. So if it's UFC 200, then rematch is great.
A lot of people, after the fight, you've been very gracious in victory, giving a lot of credit to Ronda, and obviously very, humble in your victory. A lot of people have kind of been upset that Ronda hasn't at least said congratulations to you. She said, I got to come back and beat that chick. She's not even using your name. I mean, does it bother you that you haven't at least heard great job, can't wait to meet you again, any of that?
No, because I think a lot of things that I think if somebody doesn't want to say it or doesn't, it's obviously affected her in a different way. She hasn't really kind of reacted this way to a fight before, and so I know it's just a lot of emotion, and it's really nothing on me. I don't want to lose any sleep over it, lose any energy over it.
You talked about sort of going with the flow and just waiting for things to happen. Has it been an adjustment that, you say that and then we write a headline about it?
Yeah, everything I say does come into a headline sometimes, but I just kind of speak from my heart, speak what I feel, and if that's, I don't mind people knowing how I feel and what I think, so it's fine with me.
So you are enjoying the sort of extra spotlight that sort of comes with being champion a little bit?
It's just a constant reminder that I won, so I don't mind it, but I do like my privacy, and so, I don't mind it. I appreciate the media, and I appreciate fans, and I appreciate all of that because I wouldn't have a job without it. So I definitely am going to embrace it, but I do like to shut the doors and shut everybody out sometimes and just have some peace and quiet to myself as well.
You kind of dream about what it'll be like to get back into a bit of a normal life, get back to Albuquerque and get back into your routine?
Yes, I really want to just kind of have a normal, even training schedule. So it's been fun to travel, and I've been able, I got to work out in with my coach yesterday because he's here for some of the fights. So I try and keep it as normal as I can, even on the road. Just kind of keep down to earth a little bit, and just kind of, this is great. It's only for a few hours though, and then I can leave and kind of do my own thing. So.
What's been the most surprising thing about all this attention that comes with being a champion? It's been a big, overwhelming
It's a lot. It's a lot, and it's great. But it's not necessarily surprising. I've seen all the other champions and the schedules that they have to keep up with, and so I can't say that it was something that I was shocked by, but I do like to have my own space sometimes, so I'm looking forward to a little bit of a quieter ride for a little bit.
Holly, is everything settled now for the Rousey fight? Your fight July 9th, and that's just the way it's going to be?
Nothing's set in stone. So we'll see how it unfolds.
How much do you want to fight in the interim versus just waiting for Ronda or waiting for that day?
I like to fight sooner than later, but like I said, I've never in my life said I want to fight this person at this time. I don't do that. So I don't like to wait 8 months, but I'm not gonna sit here and just demand anything different. If they give me something sooner, great, and if not, then great.
Stephen A. Smith from ESPN said Dana texted him and said that you wouldn't be ready to fight till June. Is there any truth to that?
I'm ready to fight tomorrow.
So you don't know where that,
I don't know where that came from. Maybe they just don't want me to fight till then, maybe, but no, I'm perfectly healthy. I'm ready to go.
Talk to us about that Q&A session yesterday.
It was insane. The Q&A was just crazy. There's a lot of energy and a lot of excitement, so it's fine. I knew going out there that kind of a crowd is very bold and very, they're there to try and kind of just be fun and cause a lot of commotion, so I knew it was going to be one of those really intense Q&As, experience it. I'm always like that. Let's just take it in, however it goes.
From the first time, when you got matched up with Ronda, a lot of the pressure was on her, and she had a lot of talk before the fight. You kind of just went in there and were yourself, even at the weigh-ins. You had a smile on your face. You were just like, I'm just here to get a drink. With the rematch, she's already saying that she's going to win or retire. Do you feel like maybe she's kind of mounting the pressure on herself a little bit, maybe unnecessarily?
Yeah, everybody has their own mental way, their own mental game. So if that's the way she needs to feel ready for this, maybe she needs to feel like it's this or nothing in order to really just completely dive into it and dive into training. So I don't know. Whatever she feels, every fighter has their own mental game. For me, I know mine is just let's stay focused. Let's just work hard and get there for the fight. For this fight, a lot of people were thinking, man, this is a really big thing for you. A lot of people think it's too early. It's the biggest venue. The pay-per-view numbers were pretty much just outrageous. And how do you feel about that? And it's like, well, I try and really picture just if I had this person across from me in practice, it doesn't seem so big. So I try to keep that and take the cameras and the lights out of it and just focus on the fighter in front of me and not really pay attention. And it's not just the venue that was so big. There's millions across the world watching, but it's still just her and I. And so I like to keep more of like a grounded feel about it and just be into the one fighter in front of me.
Holly, you had the prospect of a UFC 200. What did you do to get to that point?
But of course, I'd like to come to Brazil, even fight in Brazil.
Oh, it's
Huge for me.
I mean, that's an overwhelming feeling that they would even want to put me on a card like that. That's what a lot of people dream of. So it's a huge thing. But I try not to get, I guess it goes along with the same lines. I don't want to get so overwhelmed thinking I want to be part of this big thing again, because it is just, for me, it's all about the fight. It's passion. It's all about the victory. It's all about the win. And for me, it's just training for that person in front of me, whether it's UFC 200 or 199, for me. So, but it is, I do feel very honored that they put me in that light to want to put me on such a big card.
You flew internationally here. You've had 3 fights and a lot of training. How much better did you get? How much better of a fighter are you today than you were 12 months ago?
Oh, I'm a completely different fighter today than I was, 12 months ago, and I plan on being better the next fight, and better the fight after that, and better the fight after that. I don't ever want to feel like I've made it somewhere. I want to feel like I'm still getting somewhere. That way I keep learning, I keep pushing forward. I always want to keep progressing forward.
So you were a big underdog against Ronda, but was everybody just misjudging you, or did you get significantly better while no one was watching?
I feel like it's a little bit of both. I feel like a lot of people were underestimating me, and I think the other part of it is that I knew what I was up against, and so I really, really, really wanted to get better, and I knew that I had to work hard for that fight. So it's a little bit of both.
Did you read the story Ronda did with ESPN magazine the last week or so?
I have not read the entire thing, no.
Okay. Did you read some of the quotes or anything? Do you have any thoughts on it?
Next summer.
If you tell me what quote you're thinking of, I'll tell you what thought. Okay. All right.
She's obviously down. She's...
Yes, and you know what? I wouldn't change anything about the fight. That's what I go in there to do. I want to win. I hate to lose, and I want the victory. And I want the knockout. Who doesn't want the knockout? That's the ultimate victory. But when the fight is over and the decision is done, there's always this little bit of compassion, because when you're a fighter, you know what it's like to lose. And there's a little bit of compassion. It's when I got knocked out, somebody had come up to me and they said, well, don't be so down, it's not the end of the world. And I was like, actually, that's exactly what it feels like, the end of the world, You put your heart and soul into it. Everything physical, mental, emotional, you put everything into it. And being in the spotlight as she has, it's people go from having you here and then to just smashing you. So there's a little compassion there, but not enough that I would change any of the decision. I mean, let's be real with that. I wouldn't change it for a second. If I had a chance to do it all over again, that's my plan, is to finish with a knockout. But it's a very sad place to be, and I've been there. And so there's a little bit of compassion for that.
You've had rematches before in your boxing career. What do you feel like is the key to a rematch? Because obviously, whether you fight Misha next, you're going to eventually fight Ronda at some point. What is the key to getting mentally ready for it? Because I know it's hard to top your last performance, so I know you can't think that way, but what is the key to a rematch?
I always feel like they're coming for me twice as hard as they were the first time, especially if they're coming from a loss and coming back. And it's going to be a different fight. They've not only watched my film, they've felt my strength, they've felt my powers, they've felt my movement, experienced me in the ring with them. So this will be my first rematch in MMA, and she's felt my clinch, she's felt the punches, she's felt the movement, so she'll be able to be more prepared the second time around. So it'll be a completely different fight. They're never the same.
Holly, you've been in so many different fights and so many different disciplines. When you look back at that fight, was that the most complete effort on the biggest stage? I mean, when you think about looking in the middle of it, and then when you look back at the was that you putting everything together?
So everything we practiced played out in the fight, and not every fight is like that. Sometimes you practice a certain way, and you get in there and you have to make so many different adjustments. Sometimes it's just maybe one little adjustment. But everything we did was playing out. So, a lot of times in the fight, I would just hear my coaches saying, stay focused, because pretty much keep to the plan. Just stay focused. Like, what we worked on is working, so just stay focused. And so, yes, everything played out, but I don't feel that that's my full potential. I never feel it's full. If I feel like that's my full potential, then I should retire. That means that I don't feel like I'm going to get better. So no, I don't feel like it's my full potential. It was a very dominating performance, but it also is its own fight. Every fight's different. Every matchup's different, and it's going to be a whole different fight the next time around. There's things I look at in the fight and I think, oh gosh, good thing I didn't get caught here, and there's mistakes that I made, and I want to get better at it. I always want to perfect.
Talk to us about the relationship with Coach Wink and the team you've got up there in Albuquerque. It seems like a real close-knit, almost like a second family.
It is. Our team is like a second family, 100%. Our coaches are great, our teammates are great. As soon as the fight was over, when I left the venue, I just thought, I can't wait to go into the team and just hug them. I just want to hug my team that was so supportive in every way, and they believed in me when everybody outside of the gym wasn't. And that means a lot. That builds confidence. Their belief in me gave me strength. And so it's and a lot of that comes from the top. That comes from, Mike Winklejohn and Coach Greg Jackson. They believe in you. They have this emotion. They set the stage, and all the fighters underneath them, they feel that energy, and so it's a second family. They're like my brothers and sisters over there.
And the reaction you got when you went back home, was it 20,000 people you said?
There was over 20,000 people at this parade that they put on, and it was just insane. I didn't know what to expect. All I know is that when we started the parade, I was crying because there's just so much overflow of emotion from people. It was just like, it's insane, the support there. And good thing we had the whole parade before I actually had to get up and have a speech, so I could get some of the tears out of the way, so I could actually collect myself. But I just love that it touched that many people's lives. When does that happen? What did it teach me?
It changed everything so dramatically. A lot of people don't experience that. You went from, I don't want to, I'll just use the word now, obscure going in, and the biggest thing coming out.
I'm getting to the weight. That's good.
I know that in this career,
Thank you so much.
you work your whole life and you can be on top like this, and then there's also, you can get it taken away just like that. And that's what makes watching fighting so amazing. You never know what's going to happen. It's also what makes it the most emotional thing you can be involved in, when you know what you're up against and you know what can happen with a win or a loss. So, I mean, I'm still learning as it goes on, but I knew that it would be, it's either, I always say you're either having the best night of your life or the absolute worst night of your life. It is one or the other, and there's no in between. So it has been. It's amazing. It's been a great ride. There's a lot of, there's a lot of pressures that come on after a victory like that. Then people will, high expectations and things like that. So I just need to work hard to try and make that ride again.
Holly, we're hours away from another monster card. Do you have a pick or a breakdown in the fights, the Alden McGregor and Weidman Rockhold?
You know what? I don't ever do picks on fights. That's not really my style. The only time you'll hear me say that is when it's a teammate. I'll tell you they're gonna win. But I'm excited for a good fight tonight. I know that I can pretty much, if I had to put some guarantee on it, it's going to be an active fight. It's going to be very, I think it's going to be a pretty emotional fight. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to watching it.
Has the Ring magazine approached you about being in the cover yet?
No, but we'll see. When I was in Ring magazine before, it was for being Fighter of the Year. And to me, that was just a pride I had that Ring magazine picked me as, Fighter of the Year 2 years in a row. So I thought, that's awesome. So for me, I know that's the victory. Same thing with even, when I would have title fights, and even now everybody says, oh, how awesome does it feel to hold the belt? And I'm like, well, to actually hold the belt, I know I have the victory, and that's what I love. I mean, the belt is a symbol of it, but the actual victory is what's awesome. So, to know that I had Fighter of the Year, and it is something I took pride in before. If they come, I'd rather be in there, I guess, for Fighter of the Year rather than just a picture on the cover, because Fighter of the Year to me is an accomplishment. Being on the cover, obviously, is an accomplishment itself, but if they come, it'll be awesome.
Can you go back in time a little bit and talk about the Raquel Pennington fight? Now that's in the past, and was that the same Holly?
I could have done way better, and even after the fight, I told Dana and Lorenzo, I said I have a lot more potential. I need to show you. It'll come. A lot of people were saying UFC jitters, and I'm not saying that wasn't a little bit. There was a little bit of nerves there, but going into that fight, I was. I'd never been out of fighting for an injury before, and I was coming off. I broke my arm in my title fight in Legacy, and which I wound up finishing the fight, and it was a good victory for me, but still a long recovery. And in training for my UFC debut, I herniated my disc in my neck, so I had to take time out for that. So going into that fight with Raquel Pennington, I was coming back from two pretty major injuries. So I think a lot of it was just kind of really feeling out, not wanting to overdo it, and I think I was holding back a little bit in that fight. But also, on the flip side, let's not take anything away from Raquel Pennington. She's a little brawler. She likes to get in there and try and create a fight. So, every fight I feel like prepares for the next, and so I'm glad I had that fight. And maybe not doing as much as I needed to do helped push me to want to prove more. So I can't say it was a bad thing.
We don't know for sure what's happening next, so I do want to get your opinion. What do you think? How do you match up with Miesha Tate if that ends up happening?
Miesha Tate's a whole different fight than Ronda. Every fighter is different. I feel like she has a pretty well-rounded game. She's kind of one of those scrappy fighters from any position. So we would train completely different for it. I obviously always feel like I can win, because otherwise, why would I be taking any of these fights? So, but with that comes a lot of hard work, and you have to perform, and that's just it's just kind of how it comes down to.
This may not apply to you, but it does. Other fighters have said this. Was there a moment in the fight with Ronda where you were able to do something, or they thought, I'm going to win this, or I can really win this without something crazy happening?
Right, I felt like I had her timing, and I felt like I was doing pretty well. So I knew I was dominating the fight, and anything can happen though. And we've all watched Ronda's fights. She has the fastest finishes. So there wasn't a moment that I felt like, oh, I can just, cruise, because that's not how it is.
Early on, you thought you had her timing.
As soon as I started landing a few straight laps, I thought, you know what, tonight I'm on it. I'm on her timing, and I need to be careful that I don't mess up, because I'm just going to throw all that hard work out the window if I do, and I don't want to lose focus. After the first round was over, my confidence was high. I felt good. I felt very dominant. But like I said, that was only one round. We had 4 rounds to go. So I thought, if there's a moment where I can capitalize on it, I will. And that came in the second round, so I just took it.
Because I think that was a stunner for a lot of people, not for you, because you saw your training progression. But
I'm gonna have to go back. I don't really remember exactly what they're telling me. I know there's a few things technique-wise. They were just kind of saying, a little more sharp here, a little more careful here, and but mostly just stay focused. Everything's working. You're doing great. And that was it. So.
I think in the first round, before you went for the takedown, it appears that Ronda hit you pretty hard to that right. Did it hurt?
I never felt like like my bell was rung. I never really felt like out of it, but there were little zingers, and I thought to myself, like, there were solid little. There was two times she hit me. There were solid little punches. Nothing that put me out of my element at all, but just enough to remind me to not get lazy. Like, I just remember hitting me and going, "Come on, Holly, let's not make a habit of that."
And you hear that? I think it was Izzy, your wrestling coach.
Yeah.
When you went for the takedown, he's screaming, "No, no, no!" But then when you got it, he's going, "Yes, yes, yes." Was that just on the fly? Was that
that was not part of the game plan. But you know what? It was not part of the game plan, but it was great for the fight. I think I feel pretty strong with my wrestling a lot of times, and it's not something that I necessarily go to in a fight. A lot of people don't see it as a strength of mine, but I feel like there's still it's still something that I like to do, and I felt like okay to do it, and I just thought, we were kind of in the clinch. She was kind of going for a toss, and I thought, rather than make this too much of a scramble, I just want to impose my will, and so I just kind of went with it. And it was. I told him, I got in the locker room after the fight, and I looked at the coaches, and I was like, so how about I went for a takedown? And they're like, yeah. They're like, hey, it didn't bother us. We felt like you were fine. And Izzy's like, that was the biggest no-yes moment of my life. No, yeah. So, it's this moment, and a great moment to learn from in a fight. So.
Was it more of a boxing match than you thought it would be?
No. A lot of people asking me that. They're asking me, are you surprised she tried to box with you? And if you go back and watch the fight, she boxed a little and then pushed me to the cage, and we were in the clinch on the cage, and I was able to get out. We both kind of were in a stalemate, went to the ground. She went for an arm bar, and I was able to get out. And then we were in the clinch again, and I went for a takedown. And one of the big thing to kind of finish it was the kick. So for anybody to really kind of think that it's boxing and sometimes if there's a lot of girls that think it was boxing, I hope that's all they're worried about, because then they'll be underestimating. So I do feel like the fight was actually full of MMA. I feel like it was all mixed martial arts in the fight. And I love that about the fight. I love that it wasn't just boxing. I love that it was everything, because those are the fights that you can learn the most from.
How did you craft the defense against the argument? Because it's been something that similar
just repetitions. That's pretty much all I heard from my coaches was, did you get your reps in? Repetitions, and there's still not enough. I need to do it more.
You're obviously calm. First of all, congratulations for
Thank
the last
you.
victory. And colleagues, I'm sorry, I'm going to try to speak in English. I am from South America. I'm going to try to do my best. The first question is, when these kind of victories happen for example, I'm from South America, sportsmen, football players, basketball players in South America, after these kind of victories, they need a special mental help. People who can come to talk to them and say like, hey, keep focused, because this is an amazing victory. Who talked to you? Who talked to you after the victory, after this fight? Privacy, in a room telling you, hey, Holly, you did this, you have to keep focused, you have to do your best mentally.
I didn't really need anybody to tell me anything. I told my coaches from the beginning of my career, if I ever get too confident or too over the top or too far out there, just slap me. I said I need to stay focused. I need to stay humble. I need to stay grounded because anything can happen in there. And I think because I've always said don't let me get that way, I really try not to get that way. My coach did make a joke on the phone at one point when I was in Vegas going to the Canelo Cotto fight. He's like, hey, remember, you still got to get back here and train. Don't get all Hollywood on me. And I'm like, I know, coach. I know. So he just kind of laughed. So
it's the same Holly Holm before the fight and now.
Same. Hopefully a better version. I just, I say I want to be the same Holly Holm that I was 10 years ago, but only the best version of me. I think we all learn in life. None of us really want to be the same person we were 10 years ago because we've learned a lot since then. So I want to have the same grounded morals as I did 10 years ago, but be the best version of myself today and better tomorrow and keep striving to be the best.
I was talking with another sports guys and reporters and journalists from South America, and they usually say the good thing in Holly Holm is she's keeping all the time focused and the humility.
I want to stay focused. I feel like the minute you lose focus is the minute everything can slip away from you. So I want to stay focused, and for me it is all about the win. This last fight with Ronda, a lot of people are asking, oh my gosh, now there's so many opportunities for you and doors are opening and all this stuff is good, and I'm like, I would have taken $0 and a victory over tons of money and a win, because the victory is priceless, and that's where my passion is at, and that's where I want to keep my focus on, is always the victory. Passion for it first. I always tell myself this: passion first, and everything else will fall into place, and I want to keep true to that.
Thank you.
Holly, is it the ideal situation for you to get back in with Ronda so quick? Would you rather face somebody else? Did you have any control over that?
I just like to fight sooner than later, but I've never picked a certain fight, so I don't like to set out my schedule. I feel like if you look at life, since when did anybody's path go exactly how they thought it would? Life takes its own turns. I don't care what you're doing, fighting or any other career. If you were 10 years ago to think of where you are now, it's very different than where you probably would have pictured, or the different turns it takes. So I don't really like to lay out a path of what I think is best for me. I like to just take it as it comes, and I've been saying that's why I'm sitting here today. They gave me the fight with Ronda. A lot of people thought it was too early, and I just took the opportunity. So whatever they say, I would like to fight sooner than later, but whatever happens happens.
Do you think next time she won't be so eager to box you, to stand up with you? Do you think she'll try and get you on the ground next time?
I think she might try a little harder. I know that in the last fight, she put me on the cage, tried to go, in the clinch. We were in the clinch a couple times in the middle of the cage. So I can't say that it was definitely just a boxing match. That there was a lot going on in the fight. So I do expect a completely different fight. Nothing ever happens the same, and she'll be coming twice as aggressive. And I'm not saying in a forward moment, but forward motion aggressive. I just mean kind of like a will to want to win. She's going to come back with a vengeance. I know that, so I'll have to be ready.
Last question for you: is there anybody out there in your division whose stand-up game you're concerned about? I mean, your stand-up, as we just saw, is totally
I honestly am concerned about everybody's stand-up because anybody can land a knockout shot. I always want to train to kind of defend whatever they're good at. Every fighter has their own stand-up game. Every fighter has their own technique, and with every offense, there's a defense. Every action, there's a reaction. So I just want to be ready for whatever style comes in front of me.
You're a tremendous athlete. You played a lot of different sports. What was it that eventually drew you to put such passion into combat sports?
Went into the gym, just started doing some aerobics, keep in shape, started fighting because I thought it looked awesome. And it was one of those things, I think, towards the end of the year, it was, soccer season, one season, and you're done. And by the end of the season, I was ready to not have to go to practice. I was kind of ready for the season to be over. Same with any sport I was in. I loved it, but at the end of the season, I was kind of over it. Gymnastics was year-round. I did that when I was younger, and it was really fun, but I did get to where I wanted to do other things, and it kind of tied me down. But in fighting, it was like I've been doing this year-round for a while, and I still love it. So I knew that was my passion. I thought, you know what, I found something that is just really what I love and what I want to do. And so I think that's why I went ahead and made a go for it to try and make it a career.
People say they love fighting, but what does it mean to love fighting? What is it about it that you can say, I love that fight?
The victory, and you go through everything. It is. I've said it before that, and I'll say it again, that it's the most emotional, physical, spiritual, just everything you put into it, and it's you and one other person, and it is the most satisfying victory because it is all you. It's not a team. It's not anything else. And I've done sports where swimming. It's all you, but you're still just swimming next to the person in the lane. I've done gymnastics, it's all about your score. I've done diving, it's all about your score. I've never been in a sport where it's this other person and their physical strength. It is just you and them. And to me, it's like the ultimate sport. So it, in turn, gives the ultimate feeling with a victory. And I think that is what's so addicting about it. It's a thrill.
Holly, would you be willing to go to 140 or 145 to fight Cyborg if offered?
You know, I know with the UFC, they don't have that division, so if that was something that they were going to put together, I'm not against it. I'm open to it. But right now we only have 135, 115, so if it was going to be for the belt or anything like that, it would have to be at 135, but I'm not against options to, for other fights. I don't know how high I would go. I have fought at heavier weights in boxing. It kind of changes things with MMA because there's wrestling. Boxing I think is a little different. You're not dealing with somebody's strength and weight on you as far as wrestling and grappling, but I do feel like I'm a bigger 135er, so I don't know. I guess I would just have to see whatever would unfold if that was an option.
You said you want to fight sooner than maybe July, but it seems like the UFC, at least in their public statements, has made it clear that that's sort of what they're looking at. So in your mind, is that kind of what's most likely, or are there negotiations that maybe are going on behind the scenes that the rest of us aren't aware of?
The most I've really thought about it is it's very possible that that's going to be the next fight, so I'm not, I'll embrace it if that's the next fight. If I get a fight before then that's great. I like to kind of go with the flow. I don't want to force anything. I don't like anything to feel like it's having to push. I want it to feel like it's flowing. I like to kind of go with it. Ride the wave, I guess you say. So 8 months in between fights is a long time. Maybe not for some, but in boxing I used to fight 4 times a year for title fights. And it was very active. So, and then this year 3 fights in a year. I still feel like it's active, but to go 8 months without one is like we're not even averaging 2 a year at that rate. So it's kind of like, oh man, that's a really long time from now. I like to have that goal. I like to have that vision in front of me. And so when it's kind of a long ways away, it's kind of hard. But whatever comes, it's great.
Going down to 140 like you thought she was going to. Were you hoping that she was going to drop to 135 to shoot, or how did you want to
I feel like I love Cyborg. She's awesome. I finally got to get to know her this year, and whatever Cyborg wants to do, I support it. You want to stay a heavier weight, you don't want to go to 140, whatever she wants to do, I'm all about it. So I haven't really thought about it too much. So.
Holly, obviously it's a long wait till July. Have you thought about potentially having a kind of tune-up boxing match or a kickboxing match, even if you've just got to wait it out?
I'm 100% in MMA. If I have a fight, I want it to be MMA. I've retired from boxing, and I don't want to get distracted with that. I want to stay with MMA.
But when was the last time you had 8 months without a fight? Ever?
Honestly, the last time was when I had 2 injuries I was coming off of, and I think it was about 8 months. And it seemed like forever. Averaging 4 fights a year is what my normal was, and in boxing, and then I had 3 fights this last year. So waiting 8 months, it is a long time.
So it's going to be a difficult period in some ways for you.
Yes, it will be, but I'll keep training hard. I still want to go to the gym, and I don't have to have a fight in front of me to be motivated to train. I want to train, but it's a lot more exciting to train when you have a fight coming, and we're in this sport because we love to fight. So it kind of, when you don't have a fight for a while, it kind of takes away what you're shooting for. But whatever comes is whatever I'm going to deal with.
And have you worked some of the male fighters though? Whose styles do you feel in your own body when you're moving, or do you compare yourself? Are you an Anderson Silva type? Are we going to see you become the Anderson Silva of the women's divisions, or?
I don't know. I guess I just see myself as me. I don't ever really. I try to learn from all of them. I don't really try and compare too much, but I try to look at them and think, man, they're great at that, or man, they're great at that. And I know one thing that I've been looking at too is just some people's elbows and knees. A lot of people don't use them like they're deadly though, I look at John Jones and I think, I want elbows like that. He can just stand like at a jabbing range and he can just pretty much jab you with his elbow, So I look at stuff like that and I just think, I want to learn, I want to get better at that. I look at some of the speed and some of the head movement that some of these fighters have and I think, I want some of that. Look at the speed that this guy has right here. I want that, So I do look at all the fighters on the entire roster and outside of the UFC roster across the world, and I just look at everybody's got their own strengths, and I just look at it and think I want a little more of that.
Thank you. Cheers.
Speaking of boxing, you mentioned you think Mayweather is the greatest of all time. What was that?
I said Mayweather is one of. I can't put the greatest of all time. There is no the greatest of all time. There's MMA, there's boxing, there's kickboxing, there's years and years of history. How do you not say that Muhammad Ali was the greatest of all time? How do you not say someone like Sugar Ray Leonard or Roberto Duran Mayweather's been able to stay undefeated at 50 fights. That's a huge feat. So he's got to be one of the greatest, And I stand by that. He is one of the greatest. I feel like John Jones is one of the greatest. He's been one of the most dominating athletes at a very competitive weight class. I see some of I look at our team and I see some of the greatest in the world. So I do feel like Mayweather is one of the greatest of all times. He's undefeated. You can't really argue with that. But I look at a lot of fighters and just think how great they are. There's just a lot of people that I look up to.
I know you don't want to talk yourself up, but at what point will you say you're the greatest of all time as far as females athletes?
I don't think I'll ever say that, but I hope that people see me as that, because that means that I keep learning and I'm doing better. So I feel like I have a lot of road to travel to get there, but I feel like I'm on my way at least to be respected and hopefully viewed in that group. I would love it, and I would be very honored if people would ever consider me that way. I wanted to have world titles in both boxing and MMA, and it's been a passion of mine, and I've been able to do that. But I want to keep doing it. I want to keep getting better. I feel like in order to be a true champion, you have to defend your title, and so I've just won it. I have a lot to prove still. So I'll keep fighting, and hopefully I can be considered as somebody that's made a statement in the fighting world. So.
You have all these fans come up to you now. What are